Hi, hello, and welcome to The Far Side. I'm your host. My name is Austin. Hi, welcome back to episode like 16 or something of this crazy rambling situation. How are you? Yeah? Yeah, you're good? Nice. If you're not good, that's okay too. Hang in there. Things are weird. Real weird. But you know what? Positive news. We've got our first, like, openly gay president. Yeah, I know we're all excited about that one. I mean, I feel like I'm living in the most progressive of timelines at the moment. In case you've been under a rock, we the American people have been struggling with what to do about the Epstein files and how related various members of our political apparatus are with this former potentially Mossad spy. But in all reality, like it is a simple-minded person's solution to the Epstein situation to call him a just complete soul, like Mossad asset. Um, he was probably an international criminal that was propped up by an international espionage ring that I think multiple espionage or intelligence agencies have their fingers in that pie. Yeah, there's a joke there about our president having some fingers in some pie that was not cherry nor apple, but was a former president. Yeah, apparently, according to these recent Epstein leaks or leaked emails from the Democrats or something like that, apparently Trump is in some emails allegedly having glucked Bill, Bubba. And that could be a few different people. But it is highly likely that it is Bill Clinton. Yeah, that's saucy dog. Who he's looking real like seen some interviews with him getting a couple questions asked to him regarding this recent release and leaks, and he has this absolute sly dog look that I have only personally achieved when someone tells me something about someone that I have slept with, but I'm gonna keep my druthers and keep it a secret, gentleman's agreement, that kind of thing. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. I don't know. It's just wild. But now Trump is saying, I will release the Epstein files. We should release all the Epstein files. He's basically going to release the Epstein files to get the internet to stop calling him gay. Is that why he hated Hillary so much? Did he hate Hillary so much? Because hell hath no fury scorned like. How do I phrase this? Hell hath no fury like a homo scorned by his beard's husband. His hell hath no fury like a homo scorned by his lover's beard. Does that sound about right? Because I'm just the idea of a love triangle between two of the least sexual people, sexy people ever, ever. Hillary Rodham Clinton and Donald J. Trump are two of the least sexy people that have ever been accused of being somehow some kind of sexy. That's just a fact. It's not even really debatable. You could say that Bill Clinton has an air of charisma. He has that animal magnetism that many people report that can really scoop you down, make you feel seen and heard in such a way that, people go, oh, all of a sudden his penis was in my mouth. And I'm willing to bet one of those people was Dear Donald. Everything about Donald is essentially a gay man that has decided to fake being gay because it would hurt his real estate prospects back in the day. But again, like gay, straight, homosexuality, heterosexuality, a lot of these things are kind of like newer concepts, I guess, that have really only been around for like I think since the 1950s. Before that, it was just like some people like to sleep with men and some people only want to sleep with men. And some women, well, they're just spinsters. Those lonely old spinsters up there on the hill. They're not spinsters, they're lesbians. Come on. Come on. And then the whole like the gays looking alike thing. I mean, how many have they said, oh, those Spencer sisters up there? Well, they're not actually sisters, but they look like sisters. Qu'est-ce que What? Huh? What? It's almost like people have been sleeping with the same sex forever, and we just kind of had to really Christian wash things, or I don't know. It seems like the from the 1950s on, there was a culmination of lies that we tell each other on a social level to keep society moving in a direction. And in the last 70 years, there has just been this massive exposure of the pipelines of information and propaganda and who used to control information, who used to control propaganda. And in the last like 5 or 6 years, we're really seeing that control slip. And so, like, I personally, and those of you who know me will find this very funny. I have had people trying to come to me being like, Austin, this, that, or thing that's like very superficial, very surface level, very cursory examined conspiracy theory. And I am a single 34-year-old man with two dogs. I have spent a lot of time going down these rabbit holes. So much time that I've lost my mind to a point where I think podcasting is a good idea. Hi, I swear, European banking families, it's not the Jews. Do I have someone coming to the front door again? Well, hey, that's the benefit of wearing a cloak while you do this. And having set off days. No, European banking families. Yes, they all think it's the Jews. Gosh. I just love that everyone thinks that there is this grand Israeli push to do shady things. I think a lot of countries have pushes to do shady things. But remember, there are more groups that wish to have a lot of power in the world than the Israelis. Right? Like, I'm not here to defend any government's international espionage, but like I have people, oh, we'll owe nothing and we'll do this, and it's like, yeah, I do think the Charles Schwab guys and some of these European banking aristocrats do want us to live on a subscription model. But I also think there's Indian nationalists or whatever that for their own reasons are saying, hey, look, you need to believe this subscription model thing, that you, little American, are going to be crushed under the boot heel of your own capitalist system, you little sissy. And it's like, yeah, they might benefit from that because it's a demoralization of the American workforce. It's a demoralization of the American can-do spirit. And that's one of the ways that they can fight us. Anyone who seeks to have their own country become supreme. It is a war fought in the information space, a war fought in the internet, and many Americans are deeply complacent. It is actually one of our country's biggest issues. So like we see all this these Gen Z. I love how they're being. It's like the new way in the 1950s. Like, you got to be wary of the teenagers. The teenagers, oh God, the teenagers. The teenagers, these roving bands of teenagers. Where is your kid? Is it out with teenagers? It's like, yeah, now these Gen Z mobs are hurting policemen and they're doing all these things. Okay, how many of these Gen Z mobs are not actually Gen Z mobs, but it's just people who are Gen Z are putting it on TikTok so they get an unfair amount of representation in regards to all this? But also, is this some way of getting a bunch of older generations to now be afraid of the younger generation, to create generational divide and issue? I think not none. So like, go gadget protesters. And I see a lot of Americans going, especially now in this turbulent time in which our president is both denying being a pedophile and being with one of the most notorious human traffickers that we're aware of. that we're aware of, tip of the iceberg, people, absolute tip of the iceberg, is he's now threatening to essentially oust himself as a pedophile to get the internet to stop calling him gay. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating time to be alive. Could you imagine? I mean, I'm trying to think who's like another gay president that we had. Lincoln. Could you imagine if Abe Lincoln wasn't just hanging out with his like butler or his bodyguard or whatever his man butler thing? If they just weren't like sleeping together all the time and him taking the breaks from Mary Todd, where it's just like, oh, I just need to hang out with my boy in the woods for the weekend. It's like, sir, you really like wrestling. Was that so to me? I don't know. There's no comparison because it's so new. It's so novel. And what really makes me feel that almost like the world is healing a little bit. Um, he's a Republican president and a sitting president, and his theme song was the YMCA. Like everything about Trump is just a closeted gay man who realized that he couldn't live his truth, live out and be free. But also, I don't think Trump is gay. I think Trump is bisexual, if we're going to go down that route. I think a lot of these guys at the top levels of power, I mean, Kurt Metzger says this, a lot of other people say this, and I'm kind of, at this point, also getting to this place. These people are not like heterosexual or gay or bisexual in that way. The peons, us peasants, choose to define ourselves. Hole's a hole. Sex is power. Oh, so what? Trump sucks your dick while someone else takes a picture. That's blackmail that you now have over that individual for the rest of your life, allegedly. So that all said, you've got these Gen Z kids running around, which you got to wonder how much of this is American propaganda or American psyops being put into these Mexican teenagers or young adults algorithms, or how much of this has even been influenced by China. China and the US are kind of having a proxy war right now in Mexico through the cartels, allegedly. And, who do you think is getting all the fentanyl to Mexico? Well, it's China, allegedly. And because of the heightened situation of the war that they're having, well, they realize that, hey, they need to spread like a corruption mechanic, and they need to do it all around the United States and all throughout. And, the cartels might be more siding with the U.S. than they are with China because they're seeing the way China kind of left many groups in Africa holding the bag, or that over reliance on China caused problems for those proxy areas with the Belt and Road not fulfilling its its aims in those regions. I don't have sources to back me up on this. That would be a whole thing that I'd have to look up. But it's just I need, whenever we talk about the news or things going on, it is very important to know that there are hundreds of interests, if not thousands, that are pulling the strings and pushing things to happen. Now, they might be doing in such a way that is completely inept. Wet spaghetti noodle in the wind, just fucking flinging it. Like, all right, let's give it a shot. Phew. Like that's going to be happening. There's going to be someone somewhere who's like, you should do it dressed as a frog. And then they dress as a frog, and then the people get to go, hey, look, they're dressed like a frog. They listened. And it's like, what? They're just in Portland. You're in North Korea, and you're like, yeah, but they listen to me. They did listen to my frog thing. See, they're doing the frog thing. I go ribbit, 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 ribbit. And it's like, yeah, that's how propaganda works nowadays. That's how psychological operations work. You have people in one country essentially sending like Hail Mary fucking spirals down to see if anyone in the end zone at least just notices that they throw a ball too. The clusterfuck that is psychological operations in the modern day, before we get as individuals, AI butlers essentially, or some sort of restricted intelligence, maybe not a full blown artificial sentient intelligence, but something that we can program to discern for us what is real, what is not, what is a fake news story, what is a doctored video, what is AI. Because until we get that capacity to actually have some sort of dedicated AI that is like our counterpart in the same way that like our cell phone's kind of our counterpart. It's also spying on us. It's also probably giving us a bunch of false information. So like when we have that chip directly in our brain, yeah, that's going to be telling us everything. I mean, it's one of the biggest problems I have with like AI taking over storytelling is because when you control the brain of the AI, you get to put a bunch of things in it that says, "Hey, don't say that about these people. Don't say that about these people. Yeah, let's just not let's avoid this." But it's done in such a way that that completely leaves the creative process. You can just edit it out. And then all of a sudden, you have your completely sanitized sloppy Joe burrito, like I grew up in Southern California. There's Mexican food places that you go to and you look at it and you see like, damn, that is a C health code rating. I've been in some where it's like you just look at the wall and you see a D, and they got a line out the door because people in the late 90s, early 2000s didn't care. If the food was good, they would risk Giardia. They would risk the salmonella and the E. coli to get that Mr. Serious burrito. That's kind of where I think we're at with like the AI stuff. Is everyone wants the thing. Everyone wants the end product. Give me the goals. But no one wants to look at it and go, that is filthy and disgusting. Like that is. And so what everyone wants is they want that completely sanitized thing. I don't even know. We're tangenting off. But like, look, all these Gen Z protests are probably so doctored and so far removed that it's like the carrots and sticks of this movement will be studied for a while, mostly because I think we won't be able to fully understand what's going on right now in Mexico until we have AI that can kind of sort through it in a way that makes us feel like that the AI hasn't been doctored to give us a special sanitized set of data points or of information. And again, that's my problem with the storytelling is that you can do this thing that's completely sanitized on the back end, but then it presents like, hey, here's this Mr. Serious burrito from the C rating place, but it came from a sterilized, super sterilized thing. And something about it just doesn't taste right. But it's still in our hand as the Mr. Serious burrito. But it doesn't taste right. But it's the same burrito. No, it's not. That's kind of how I feel with the AI storytelling in the next few years. That you know we're not really going to know one how much of it's AI until time passes and we get our own ability to have these AI going, hey, this is exactly what this is. But so here's my point. And I see a lot of Americans getting online and going, look at this crazy turmoil going on in our country and our politics. A political talking head was shot. Maybe his lavalier mic exploded. There's a lot of different ways in which Charlie Kirk could have been killed. And he's being canonized. Like, one way or another, I didn't really care that much about Charlie Kirk when he was alive, but I find it very, very fascinating from a storytelling perspective as well as a propaganda perspective that he has been canonized, almost semi-deified. Like he's this almost like religious figure, like they're trying to put him up there as this like quasi Jesus type figure, this Buddha of politics, this Siddhartha of the spiritual Christian right. And then he dies, and he's been canonized, and they're trying to ascribe to him like magical properties, like his neck bones were thick enough to stop a 30-06 or 308. What? And I'm not even a ballistics expert. I've talked to people who know more about guns than I do, and all of them think it's bullshit. And so, that's America. We're just sitting here in this weird time where it feels like they're trying to manufacture a political religious movement to control people, while at the same time pushing socialism that has been largely figured out how to work as a manipulative system by the people pushing it. You think that America has problems? Yeah, America's got problems, but so does Canada. So does Britain. Like, we can't just sit here and say that we can import their version of socialism and expect it not to cause really fucking big problems. Like, everyone likes Zoran Mamdani. All right, great. I'm here in real estate. You know why we can have, like, relatively, like, economic, cost effective units for contractors? It's because we don't have rent control. I don't know how we circle that square, but like LA rent is almost absurdly expensive in so many areas, depending on where you live, it depending on the building, all these things, and it's kind of manufactured to get by because rent control. Am I like I had neighbors in one building I lived in Venice that had been there since the 70s and were paying like $300. Are you telling me that that cost deficit, that revenue sink that they are participating in isn't being kind of foisted onto the younger generation? And that why do we keep thinking that we're going to get the same treatment down the road? How stupid are we? They're trying to shove 50-year mortgages down our throat, and we think, oh, it might get better later. Seriously? You gotta fucking fight for it. That's what I find so interesting about watching all these people. It's like, oh, Madani, he's gonna do it. It's like you, why? Why do you have you not been paying attention? Have you not learned that American politicians don't give a fuck about you, will not pee on you if you are on fire, and if you keep thinking they will solve these problems for you, you deserve the problems that they will create for you in the future. Re-elect no one. Re-elect not a single incumbent. I don't care. God damn, people are dumb. Yeah, Madani's gonna save us. You need to do something. You need to organize. You need to look at these Gen Z kids, whatever, in Mexico or in Malaysia, wherever they've been, Nepal, I think it was, wherever they've been rioting and actually protesting and go, wow, these people are putting themselves on the line. They completely, these young people out there, whether or not they've been propagandized or radicalized or whatever, they go, holy shit, the system does not care about me. My politicians are corrupt. If I want something to change, I have to do something about it. That is not something that's happening in America. Why? Let me tell you why. And I want to get my language on this clear. This is an interesting thing. So here's the thing. These protests, these riots where young people are putting fear into the heart of their government are not being co-opted by a Charlie Kirk figure in Mexico. No, they are not being co-opted by a Mandani figure in Mexico, at least that I'm aware of. And I could be wrong on those 2 points, but like here's the thing, y'all. I think most Americans have not hit the like uncomfortable level of dissatisfaction and or peak trauma where you know intimately people have been killed by failings within your country. Look up missing women and girls and children in Mexico. It's very bad. And it's very sad. All these girls that just go missing. It's terrible. It's really terrible. And things like that weigh tremendously on the hearts of the people. And they don't want to grow up, have kids in a system where they have to wonder, hey, if my daughter's 15, is she just going to be taken, kidnapped? Is my kid going to be out protesting or, on a school trip and just take a turn down the wrong road and be killed. As bad as many of the problems here in America, it's not that. We have some serious problems with the school shootings and all this stuff. And I think that should be a like a rhinoceros horn through all this bullshit. Is we think politicians are going to keep doing like no. Now they're all trying to like foist school shootings onto like problems with trans mental health. Are you kidding me? Most like 98%, 99.8% of school shooters are male. They're not trans, they're male. Like it blows my mind. We have a men's mental health crisis, and the problem is we also have a lot of guns. So that creates a whole issue. And that's why it's like the propaganda radicalization in our country is so much more fine-tuned to political party and to like making people feel included in a thing as other elements of our communal identities are essentially being erased right in front of our eyes. And we're just like going along with it because we have been so fucking held back by this need to believe the systemic lies we were indoctrinated to adhere to because our fearful leaders stopped trusting the institutions of church or family or community to keep people in line. Because that's the thing. Church as an institution is a different thing than church and spirituality and religion. Carl Jung talks about there's kind of two main differences. There's religions who are about sociological control, and even within a religion you could have aspects of that religion which are dedicated to sociological control, and another side of it that's the spiritual side of it. Like, what is this world? What is this universe? What is anything bigger than me? Does it have a plan? Does it have an idea? Can I talk to it? Like, that's that. And then, hey, don't do this, get married, don't have kids out of wedlock, obey your Lord like you obey your father, all these things. The selling of indulgences, if you want to go back. I mean, that's been brought back around with the prosperity gospel. We've gone full circle. Now the Protestants, these evangelicals, this prosperity gospel, it's the selling of indulgences that led Martin Luther to nail his 95 Theses on the church doors. I'm blanking. I think it was the cathedral in Cologne. I could be wrong. That's not correct. But yeah. So here's the thing. So the ruling class no longer trusts church to keep us all in line. So they have to create this quasi-religious church that is this mix of either like I call it progressive, inclusive socialism on the left, or Christian nationalism on the right. Like, we're a secular country. We've always had a thing of like, hey, separate church and state. Because they didn't want to be controlled by the church back in the day. They didn't want the papacy or the Church of England coming in and going, you owe us some sort of fealty. And now here we are, where everyone's looking at it like you owe fealty to God, Christ, and Charlie Kirk. It's like, give me a god fucking damn break. Like, seriously. I think Jesus would be looking at all this and going, whoa, you got it so wrong. You got it so wrong. Oh, God. I mean, he was killed by a bunch of people for being an uppity Jew. Like, you go back and you look at the story of Christ, like he was pissing off people in charge, and so they killed him. That doesn't seem to ring true with the Christian movement today in America. Oh, they might have hurt you, or they're controlling you, so you better fall back in line and let the right people control you. Not the left people. Let the right people control you. You see what I did there? Pun intended. But like, here's the thing. I am slightly optimistic that people don't want to risk that things are going to get better. But here is one of the big problems in America right now with all this. People do not want to risk their spot in line with the American system to promote or pursue any meaningful change that isn't being forced down our throats under the disguise of choice. This Christian nationalist populist movement on one hand, and Mondani and this socialist movement on the right, and on the other hand. And it's so much of this, like, this American political overtures where everyone has to be increasingly radical or extremist on either side so that they get these people, like, audience capture. It's like, what? Why are we talking about audience capture with political shit? Well, it's because we're fucking backwards and stupid. And it's because a lot of people, you know, the internet, it happened. We weren't ready for it. We were not ready for it. Oh my God. And then we failed to, like, educate 3 decades of people. Fuck, I'm one of them. Like, as someone that's mildly autodidactic and a bit of a polymath, I think that's just because I, as a young writer, realized if I want to write well about the world, I might as well learn about the world. I might as well figure out what I believe, what I think when I read these things, and understanding my own critical thought process. Oh, wow, was that a lot of extracurricular work I did for myself? Apparently, because I'm looking around and I'm either wondering, do people not have the capacity to think critically, or were they never trained how to think critically, or is it kind of both? Yeah, it's a capacity thing. Some people can run a real fast 100-meter dash, no problem. Some people can't, literally physically can't sprint 100 meters. I don't want to, like, shame or hate on them, but it's like that's kind of where I feel like America is with like, critical thinking. We just have a bunch of people who are, like, genuinely incapable of it. Is that by design? Yeah, I think so. So here's the thing. No one wants to, like, do the work required. And I think it comes from this idea of, well, we still kind of think the system will work for us because that's what we've been trained and believed to do. And it's not going to. We need to have a very uncomfortable, like, 5 years in America if we actually want to get over any of these, like, political hurdles. And it's going to require, I hate to say it, big man up here, like, it's going to require Gen Z. The millennials are too bought in. Too many of us are, like, deeply broken by the indoctrination system we went through, and we want, like, we did the things, we went to the schools, we worked and we slaved and we just sucked it up for that paycheck and got that salary job, and now here we are going, wow, I'm really unhappy. Whoops. Might as well just keep plugging away at it for X amount of time until maybe it'll pay off in 10, 15 years. That is what they want you to think. You are listening to their indoctrination and their programming. Good for you. Gold star. You're a good citizen. I mean, our president is thinking of releasing a bunch of files which incriminate him as friends with the most notorious human trafficker that we are aware of, so that the internet stops calling him gay because an email leaked about him sucking Bill Clinton, potentially, or another Bubba. What the fuck? Like, is this all a distraction thing? Is this level of incompetence that we are being so served? Is that part of the program? I'm beginning to think it is. All of you who were like, "Oh, Trump's going to drain the swamp." Trump is another alligator in the swamp. And all of you saying, "Well, this was better than what's her name, Kamala Harris getting into it." It's like the same version of this, like a different version of the same thing would be happening if Kamala Harris got in. 100%. 1000%. Why? Because we have always lived in a totalitarian government, in a totalitarian country, in which we have been tricked into thinking it was a representative republic or a democratic republic. And a lot of people run around going, "Oh, we're a democracy." No, we're not. No, we're not. Look into lobbying. Look into the power and money that goes in behind the scenes. Look at super PACs. Look at APAC. Like, look at all these political action committees and how much more power they have than you or I. Our vote means nothing. Probably never did. And you look into, like, political corruption or ballot stuffing, voter fraud on the small level and the small scale, and you want to tell me that that does not happen at the big scale? I think we have been made stupid by an education and entertainment system on purpose, and we're all too comfortable to really recognize how badly we are being fucked by these reptilian scumbags. And yes, everyone's like, oh, reptilian, you mean shape shifting reptiles? No, no. I mean psychopaths. I mean people who are completely incapable of empathizing with anyone other than themselves or with anyone. And many of them, they're not psychopaths, but they're fucking sociopaths. If they were hoarding cats the way they were hoarding dollars, we would have them committed. We would arrest them, put them in a mental asylum, and take away their 140 billion cats. Oh, but it's dollars, so their obsessive compulsive disorder, their agoraphobia, their inability to let the world be, to exercise this maximal amount of control over what they can. I mean, hey, good for them. But yo, at the end of the day, you wealth hoarders, you techno elites that seek to force techno feudalism upon a distracted society. The reptiles. Well, here's the thing. This message for you, reptiles. Hear me. Hear me when I say this, or don't. Because here's the thing, I don't think you're going to. Just look up. Look up who killed most of the Caesars back in the day. How did a lot of pharaohs die? In empires, yes, very, very, very rarely do the peons and the plebes and the peasants, the slaves, the serfs, the debtors, actually rise up to a point and a leader. Very rarely does that happen. You know what happens a lot? That person that you trusted, Mr. Peter Thiel or Mr. Sam Altman or one of you other fucking knucklefucks, your Praetorian guard stabs you to death in your sleep. Your wife poisons you, allegedly. Again, historically speaking, most emperors, most aristocrats, most, I don't even know what to call it, techno-feudalist overlords, they get got by the people closest to them, not the people that they seek to exercise maximal control over. You're paying attention to the wrong people. You should be enslaving your friends and your business partners before you worry about us. Seriously, look at what's going on in the world. Most of us are too stupid to do anything about anything. Myself included. Fuck, I might be like completely retarded. Who knows? I could be in a padded room right now. This is all just a figment of my imagination. I've had too many head injuries. That's why I say the word retarded. I've earned it. So, getting back to some retarded shit. Yeah, Megyn Kelly. Speaking of fucking reptiles, you're calling 15-year-old girls barely legal and trying to run some sort of interference scam for Epstein and Trump and all these guys by saying, oh, they like 15-year-old girls that look like they could be older but could also look a lot younger. You disgusting cow. Disgusting. Truly disgusting. First off, just to be a fucking cad myself, barely legal refers to like 18, 19-year-old women in porn. And you trying to say a 15-year-old girl? Barely legal type? Epstein like the barely legal type? You are disgusting scum that does not deserve the platform you have, which is why I think that you have been given that platform by someone who maybe has some videos of you in a compromising position with world leaders. Maybe you hooked up with someone at a party that they go, ha 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 ha, Miss Megyn Kelly, that's a 15-year-old. Right? Like, I feel like that's how plenty of these guys get got. Is like, sexy party, It's extravagant. This is how I think Trump did a lot of business deals in the 80s. Oh, you go to the beautiful thing. Oh, let me introduce you to this Miss Universe lady. Oh, this beauty pageant girl. Oh, this, that, and the other. She sleeps with the person that they've been introduced to, and that blackmailer then goes around and goes, hey, I've got all these photos and videos of you with a 15-year-old. You gonna play ball? And that's how they get him. That's how they get him. That's how they get him. Diddy, Danny Masterson, Ashton Kutcher, all these Hollywood celebrity A-list guys, like they all got that way back in the 2000s. Danny Masterson, very likely, allegedly, was Scientology's Epstein, was Scientology's Diddy. That's what I mean. When you start peeling the layers of the onion, the stories that we are being told that are being massively discussed on social media, you have to keep in mind, those are failures. Those are the failures. Those are the operations that got so bungled or so overexposed that now we're talking about it. The internet is aflame with these things, as legacy media is suspiciously completely silent on certain things. Or you got disgusting fucking cows like Megyn Kelly trying to say that 15-year-old girls are barely legal. What? And I feel like with this whole, like John Marco Cerezi has a great bit about it where he's breaking down the different levels of pedophilia and the different names for when a person is attracted to someone in a certain age bracket. And he's like, no, Epstein is closer to like a hebephile. But here's the problem. No one makes that distinction because if you make that distinction, you sound like a pedophile. I'm probably butchering the bit, but Megyn Kelly, what are you defending? You sound very suspicious, darling. So moving on. But I feel like this Epstein thing is going to be very similar, for those of you who remember, to the weapons of mass destruction fight after we realized that Iraq had no weapons of mass destruction. And the amount of people who were caught with their pants down or who were saying some version or another of a falsehood or a truth that they ran with. And that they were kind of like some of them lost credibility later on down the line because people could point out, hey, you voted for the weapons of mass destruction. I don't know if I can believe what you're saying on this. You, for years, were, they have weapons of mass destruction, they have weapons of mass destruction. But if Lindsey Graham, speaking of queens in the Republican Party, if Lindsey Graham is anyone to go off, then it's pretty apparent that you can just keep lying. And at a certain point, people don't care. Why? I'm willing to bet it's because of voting corruption. Like, why are the Republicans screaming so much about voter corruption? Maybe because they're the ones doing it. Maybe everyone's doing it. Did we ever think of that? That we've been sold this massive lie to trust the system when the system is completely untrustworthy. And it's run by greedy, sociopathic, narcissistic, potentially psychopaths. What? We just let them get all the power because they were like, hey, look, if you just live a life, like, we'll try and take care of you. And who wanted that power? Well, only slimy motherfuckers. And so who do we end up being run by? Bunch of slimy motherfuckers. Oh man, this video is going to do terrible in the metrics. If you have made it this far, like, share, comment, subscribe. You're a treasure. I'm gonna be ending this here soon. I can only withstand so much further brain damage. Oh, this one I love. So apparently, acting Indian frat bro of the FBI, active head of the FBI, Kash Patel, is getting a security detail for his definitely not Mossad plant girlfriend. What? Their idiocy is a byproduct of the control program that they have been running on all of us. That they think they can put these idiots in charge and no one's going to notice. or no one's going to do anything, or no one has the capacity to do anything about it, or that we're all caught up in the conversation about it. So what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? I don't know, but I do think it's funny that, oh, all these people screaming and screaming and screaming about Saudi Arabia, how the Riyadh Comedy Festival was the worst thing ever that could happen to entertainment and American anything. Y'all realize that Saudi Arabia, or a large company funded by the Saudis, is buying Warner Brothers Studios, or is very likely going to buy Warner Brothers Studios? See, I'm starting to think that Hollywood is just a state of mind, and that Hollywood will move and transcend its physical limitations once every 100 years. It will sleuth off the designs and the decrepit decay, the clutching fingers of the politicians and the propaganda, and it will fly to another totalitarian country with questionable labor because it needs propaganda. I've been Austin. I've been your host, crashing out on another day. Welcome to the far side.